today I am going to start and continue with the same vulnerability, right? I am just going to give you one more vulnerability with which cost 46,000 crore in 1996, right? So that is what the use case which we are going to see today, and we are going to start the session. So after this, we'll be covering the common cyber attacks which is happening in real time. So spear phishing email, phishing attack, and I'll also be demonstrating you DDoS in live, right, in a secured and controlled environment, right? I'll be demonstrating you all these things, and then we'll be touching up with firewall, and we'll also opening some other future aspect in terms of your job and career perspective as well, right? So that I am planning to take up after 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. So because due to bad weather, I have to start today earlier. So my actual plan was by tonight, but due to the train cancellation, I have to start by today 4 o'clock. So I'll be winding up the session by 1:30. Okay, till 1:30 I'll take the session. So then we'll go for or 1:15 I'll take the session. Then we'll go for a break, and then I'll give you the architecture of what exactly I want you to do. 2 architectures. You try it. I'll share you the PPT also. Got it? So okay. So Ariane 5 flight 501. This is the use case which we are going to see today, right? How a potential and a very simple software bug, and how it is leading us for a massive cost. That's what we are going to see today, right? So this is a Ariane 5 flight after the countdown, right? So the flight, the particular rocket took off, and within a few seconds, it got exploded in the air, right? So the actual cost was about 46,000 crore in 1996. So it's a very huge amount. It's not that easy amount. It's a very huge amount, and this is the reason. The reason for so on let us dissect the use case. On 1996 June 4th, Ariane 5 rocket got launched from the coast of French Guiana, and what happened? Exactly 37 seconds later, the flight got flipped in 90-degree axis, and then it start moving forward. All the flight mechanism of anything, rockets, have their own kill switch, right, or auto trigger to explode itself if it deviates from the path, right? So once the rocket actually the rocket has to go straight. Once it got flipped, it is going to hit on some other surface, right? So within 37 seconds, the auto trigger mechanism started, and it went for self-destruction. And again the rocket got exploded, and finally the cost was 46,000 crore, right? And the code or the code base responsible for the failure or the explosion was this one. Yes. So the programming language at the time they used was ADA. Have you heard about the programming language name? ADA? ADA, right? So think the use case and its time frame, and try to figure out what is the defective part in this particular code, in this piece of code. Yesterday we have seen a vulnerability, how a vulnerability can cause a potential access or authentication invalidation and leads a particular attacker to log in into or to bypass the login mechanism. That is what we have seen yesterday with a buffer overflow as a use case. And then I also covered how your memory gets organized when a program is on execution. That also I have covered, right? So then we discussed about Indianness, right? So I hope now you understood when you are running a program how your memory is getting occupied and how it is getting processed, right? It was very clear. So now the same thing, this is not going to be a vulnerability, it is going to be a bug, right? We can't assure. Maybe this bug cannot be exploited for the current scenario. After 10 years, after a decade, there is a chance that it can be exploited. right? A simple vulnerability, Blue Keep. Windows XP was deprecated a long back. Windows 7 was deprecated long back, right? So patch for Blue Keep got updated recently in 2019. Why they want to release a patch for it, right? So those vulnerabilities didn't get exploited in olden days. After the Windows stopped support for Windows XP 7, and now Blue Keep comes into the action in the year of mid of 2019, right? So which completely exploits a well-known protocol called RDP. It's an essential protocol. Whenever you want to take a computer in a remote with GUI, you have to use RDP only. There is no other option for you. And if you want to access a configuration based operating system which completely depends on GUI like Windows, RDP is the only solution. If it is a Linux, you can play with entire configuration with your command prompt or with your bash. But when it comes for operating system with like Windows, all the time you can't go with command prompt. And PowerShell scripting is not that easy like how you do a configuration with basic commandlets in Linux. Got it? So that's the reason that particular Blue Keep got a massive traction, right? So now the question is, where the defective part lies in this code? 46,000 crore, a simple mistake by a programmer, just a very simple mistake by a programmer leads and cost 46,000 crore in 1996. At the time, space technology, rocket technology was very new, and again it's getting emerged. So now could you please figure out where the exact fault in the code lies? Be genuine, don't search it in online. Be genuine, don't search it in online. This is all about for learning only, right? It's not all about who is answering first. Just you can think. I have given a clue, it's on ADA. Year 1996. This is a clue. Yes.
Is it because you're typecasting horizontal velocity sensor into integer?
Perfect. It is because of a simple mistake what we did. Very simple mistake, right? You did a typecasting forcibly. What happened? The value exceeds the limit of memory, and finally everything got into bad action. It seems to be a very small thing, right? And again, why I am saying you all these things is, right? So knowingly or unknowingly, you are taking codes from internet. You are taking codes from internet. There are a lot of use cases which proves that even your Linux kernels are infected with malicious software programs. Assume if your kernel is getting infected with a malicious program, whatever you build on top of it and whatever the security system you are going to deploy, it is of no use. It's completely of no use. And how many of you are using GitHub here? How many of you are aware of Dependabot? How many of you are aware of Dependabot? 1, 2. What is Dependabot basically? Do you know? It's a auto crawler among your GitHub code repository, whether you use a deprecated or a bug version in any of or any part of your program, which could be a dependency or which could be a direct base or it could be a actual code base, right? So it will alert you that this particular vulnerability persists in the package which we are using, but we never care about anything, right? So and again, whenever you take any piece of code from internet, that can also be monitored, right? There are a lot of tools for that, right? So a typical example is, I can just give you one illustration. I'll go for a quick walkthrough. If possible, you can just try with this. So there is a security testing called, there are two level of code level testing. One is SAST and another one is DAST, right? So static application security testing, dynamic application security testing, and most of the time, so I use two tools because I have a strong belief in these two tools. One is SonarQube and other one is SemGraph, right? So now, oh, this is going live, right? Oh, So this is having a proprietary. Few of the clients which we are using, they were into it. Okay. Okay, no issues. Okay, so I'll just go with the code finding, the basic level. Okay, so I'm not going to give you full illustration, just I'm giving you the walkthrough. So, bro, in the cut pannirunga. Just note it down. So, what happens, whenever there is a issue, right? So, SemGraph will give you a clear picture about what exactly and which part of the code is having an issue. Everything will be notified, right? So, likewise, the same deployment goes with another tool called SonarQube. So, this is the one, SonarQube, right? So, you can go for static application security testing as well as dynamic application security testing. Both level of testing you can go, right? So, irrespective of any of your programming language, right? So, these two tools I strongly believe that it is good to go, right? So now it's not only the vulnerability persist in a perfect code, even if you do a small mistake in any piece of code, right? So declaring a lot of variable and not clearing unused variable, right? So initializing, getting a memory, creating an object, not properly handling the memory, everything is now danger. Previously everyone were concerned only about the service, but no one is concerned about security. But now security is no more optional. Security is now mandatory, right? So initial days, whatever they went with the agile, then they transformed it to DevOps. Now it's not DevOps, it's DevSecOps. So that whenever you start development or operation, the security is a major concern. Everyone has to take care seriously. These tools, SemGraph as well as SonarQube has a plugin, and that plugin can also be integrated with any of your IDE which you are using. You got the point what I am trying to convey, right? So what you can do is whenever you start building any of your project, right? So you can integrate these tools and you can build your applications. That can help you out by reducing the maximum attack surface in your code base itself, right? So eliminate from the scratch, build a program which is 100% or at least 99.9% secured. Okay, so that's great. So any doubt so far here on the vulnerability side? So is it vulnerability clear? So what is basically a vulnerability and how it can be potentially exploited, right? Perfect. So now we'll start with most common cyber attacks. So whenever you search it in internet, right, about the most common cyber attack, so this is the one which is going to get displayed. The first thing everyone knows is about denial of service, right? So denial of service and distributed denial of service. What exactly it does? What exactly it does? What exactly it does? What is the denial of service basically? Okay, so how you entered this room? Huh? Through any other entry possibly? Hey, I'm just asking you, man. Tell me. Any other entry possibly? Huh? Any other entry possibly? There are two doors. This door is permanently locked. Only you can enter via that particular door, right? So now, first thing, if I lock the door with a very strong lock, is it possible for you to enter into it? No, not possible. Okay, so now I don't have that much access to restrict or to lock this door. But instead, what I am doing, I am sending more number of volunteer. Let us assume 2000 people. Now 2000 people are occupying in this room. And you guys are authorized to attend this workshop. You are coming from hostel. When you are coming, you find 2000 people inside this room. What you will do? And another 500 is waiting outside. Huh? Another 500 is waiting outside. What you will do? You can't do anything. You are authorized. Those peoples are unauthorized, but already they occupied. You couldn't able to get into it. Denial of service, right? And I am using 2000 people inside, distributed, right? So that is what happens in denial of service and distributed denial of service. Now let us see the basic theory behind each and every perspective of classification of DDoS attack, right? So this is a basic definition. So DDoS is basically an attack which disrupt the access of authorized user to use any of the network or system or application, right? And if you do the same with distributed fashion, that is called as distributed denial of service attack. And again, so how a service can be denied? If you want an answer for this particular question, so most of the resources are usable resources, right? That is what we are having in internet, any computer, a web application. Now everything was from the cloud, right? So everything relies on web. Your denial can be possible in different ways. First thing, you can crash a mission by sending enormous amount of request with which your mission fails to handle. But there are a lot of security mechanism incorporated. We'll see that also, how we can mitigate, right? So and again, put your mission completely in an infinite loop, right? So that is a second perspective. And again, so each and every mission is internet connected, right? So if it is internet connected, it can be accessible from anywhere across internet, right? So whenever you want to reach from one point to other point, it has lot of interim routers, interim missions that can also be denied. You can utilize a complete network resource. You can utilize the complete machine resource, right? And finally, if any of your system depends on another system, like typical example is DNS, right? So for example, assume you have a web server and it has a domain, right? And you restrict IP based access and you only allow a domain based access. So now what happens if the DNS server which you configured as primary DNS, I killed it? See, you have whenever how your client's request gets resolved, let us assume most of the primary DNS used by most of the client are 1.1.1 or 8.8.8.1. This is from Google, right? This is from Cloudflare. This is from Cloudflare, right? So some are using, let us assume when you are operating within the network, right, which has a server and client mechanism, you have a firewall. Firewall governs the primary DNS, right? If let us assume if I am killing, it's not possible, but I am saying assume I am killing these DNS services, whether your client can able to reach any of these things? No, not at all possible. That is what the last point, denying the dependent services like DNS. This is one example what I am stating here, right? And again, so how a DDoS is possible or a DOS is possible from a single source? This is how it works, right? But if it is from a single source, you can use your internal firewall which is available on your Windows operating system to block it. That is not a big deal. But what happens if it is from a distributed source? What happens if it is from distributed source? And distributed source gets and multiplies into multiple replications. There are a lot of open servers available. A typical example is lot of open DNS available, lot of open NTP servers available, right? So what happens if they utilize all these resources, right? You can't restrict all these resources, right? Because DNS relies on resolving your IP to domain, and NTP server resolves your different geographical time zones, right? It's very difficult, right? So this is a working mechanism of how a distributed denial of service attack works. So attacker have a different compromised computer with which can be used to launch attack against single or multiple web servers, possibly, right? And if you talk about a DDoS attack, different types of attack, there are 3 different types of attacks possible. One is volumetric, where you can go with different volume of attack. Then you can go with protocol based, where you rely on a protocol, right? So even if you talk about a volume, so volume relies highly on a particular services like DNS or NTP. That's what I was discussing you about, right? So and again it also has a bigger zombie computers, right? And these zombie computers will be accessed by a centralized master, and the master has access over all the zombie computers, with which the zombie computers are turned to launch attack against a single target, right? So that particular classification is called as a botnet, and the measurement when it comes for volume based or volumetric DDoS is bits per second, and when it comes for protocol, packets per second, and when it comes for application layer, request per second, right? So from the name itself you can easily infer how it works. So this is what I was explaining you, right? Volumetric DDoS, how it goes. So let me check whether my Kali machine is ready or not. If it is ready, we'll go for live. Yeah, it's ready. So I'll be launching a DDoS attack in a very controlled and a secured environment. That's what I told you yesterday, right? So the attack will not go out of my VM, because that's how it is configured, because I don't want to disrupt any of the services which is running, right? So let me check. Okay, I think we are good to go. Okay. So now I am going to use, oh, my internet connection is unstable. So for launching attack also you need to have a proper internet, right? If your internet is unstable, the packet which is reaching the internet will be very minimum, right? So now I am going to use a particular payload called Blackness, right? So it's an in-house developed payload, right? So to whom we can target? To whom we can target? Any idea or any information from site to whom I can target? We can target some sites. Don't worry, man. It's a controlled one. It will work only within the VM. It won't go out of the VM. VIT.ac.in. Okay. So okay, we'll launch an attack against VIT.ac.in. Not a problem. We'll do it. Okay. So my primary target is VIT Vellore. Okay. So what are the parameters required for me to establish a connection? Because whenever I want to send a request, again it needs a connectivity between, or somewhere I need to know which are the entries where I can get in, right? So first thing, I need to know the address of my target, and then I need to know the port which are available for me to hit. Okay, because if the port is closed, if I keep on hitting those particular ports, the packet will not reach there. It automatically get discarded. So I need to know which port I can get in. See, let us assume I'll tell you in a layman's perspective, right? So I am sending 10,000 students against this particular lab. My motto is again DDoS against all of you. I don't want you to access this lab for this particular workshop. I am sending 10,000 students. So what happens if I tell go and block this particular workshop without telling where it is happening, how to enter, how they will come here? So for that I need address. Address is this lab's address. Perfect. So they will come to here, but how they will enter into it? For entry, if I say this door is already closed. They will keep on knocking. They can't open it. So I need a valid entry for my request to reach the server, so that my server will receives it and tries to respond to it, right? That is what I want to. Initially I'll send 100, 1000, 2000, 4000. Then the people over here couldn't able to manage them, then they will fail. That is what the concept is. Is that clear how a DDoS attack is possible? I just explained you with the practical explanation of this lab as your resource. The same thing is applicable for your web servers or any of your platform which has your web application running on it. VIT.ac.in is indirectly a IP which has a web application of VIT University, right? And VITAP.ac.in is a domain which gets mapped to this IP address. That's how it works. You got it? So how many of you know web hosting? How many of you know web hosting? 1, 2, 3. Hey, what about others? No idea. Hey, this is very basic thing. Okay, being a computer science student, you should be aware of how to host a website. Okay, handling the servers and other things, incorporating the security measures. These are all the second factors. Okay, first you should know how to make sure your web is available in the internet. Okay, got it? So now, how to find the address of VIT.ac.in? I got to know that VIT is my target, VIT University is my target. So now I need to know the address, right? Then only I can launch an attack. NS lookup. Okay. So NS lookup won't work here. I think dig. Yeah, dig is there. So how to find a IP address? Because finding IP address is very important because that's what the address is. Okay. So VIT.ac.in. Okay, so still dig is not able to reach VIT.ac.in. So then any other option? If I go for NS lookup, okay, I'll try NS lookup also. As you said, let me check with the NS lookup. NS lookup VIT.ac.in. Is it right? Okay, I told you, right? NS lookup here, it's not working. Okay, what could be the alternate solution for it? A very simple solution is you can use traceroute. Okay, or else you can use ping. Ping can give you the information. What happened? Even ping is also not working. Hey, check VIT is up or not? Oh, they have a strong firewall restriction. Even you are thinking that ping of death or anyone can do. Okay, so okay, fine. So anyway, I got 122.184.65.22. This is where you are. Okay. I am not sure about it. No, it won't, man. So ping is unrestricted one. NS lookup and other things because see, when I am working in an other environment, even in Windows also, Windows does not have any restriction. VM has a restriction, I agree, but this does not have any restriction. But still, I couldn't able to ping it. See, it's not pinging. But whereas if I try with any other, my domain, it's working. Mugam.in is working. Okay, fine. So what I'll do is I'll go with Mugam.in. Okay. So now Mugam.in. A CTF.muham.in is a decoy, man. 238.168, 172.18.238.168. Okay, fine. So we are good to go. Listen. So we'll take VIT as our primary target. Is that fine? So that's what you said, right? So now I am just going to ping vit.ac.in. Let us see whether it is. See, whenever you want to do an attack or anything, make sure you have a proper internet. Without internet, it's of no use of attacking anything. Still, it's having an issue with internet, but still okay. I am trying. Okay, see how much amount of time it is taking. Okay, fine. So anyway, with this internet connectivity, I'll try to launch an attack against vit.ac.in. Okay, we'll see how it works. If you have this much delay in the request, right, your firewalls can easily drop those packets. Got it? Okay, fine. So let me take Mugam as my target. So I find, listen, I found the IP address through ping. Okay, so 185.199.110.153. Huh? Hey, it's in share. Oh, you want a meeting link? The same. Oh, it was in the WhatsApp, right? Hey, check your WhatsApp. Okay, so now I got the IP address. So what is the next thing I want to know? I got the address space of this. Now I need to know how I can get into this particular room. For that, either only way is I have to enter through via this door, right? So door is going to be a port number for your server. What are the ports which are open you are going to see? How will you know that? These are all the ports which are open. Huh? How will you know or how will you find the open ports of your target? You can go with Nmap, you can go with ZenMap. ZenMap is a GUI version of the same, right? So either one you can go and you can able to figure out what are the ports which are open in your target. So now the question is, you don't have access to Nmap or ZenMap. By this information, how will you figure out what are the ports open? You can't use ZenMap or Nmap. You are in that situation. Now you need to know which are the ports open. That is what I am saying. Ping is not working. Nmap is not working. ZenMap is also not working. But Mugam.in is my web application. So now with this you have to tell what are the ports open. Hey, Mugam.in is accessible via internet, right? I can use it via browser, which means I can access it via HTTP and HTTPS. ATR 443 is by default open. That is what the intuition you should have. That is what I expected. Okay, so now I have two information. I got the IP address I got the port number, right? So now let me launch it. Okay, sorry. Okay, now I am going to use the port number 80. Okay, so I am targeting port number 80. Is that clear? So now let me open my task manager. Okay, let me open my task manager. Let me go to my performance so that you can able to see how it works. So let me show my Wi-Fi. So what's the data transfer happening? It's about the send and received were not more than a MB, right? So not even it is exceeding 512 kbps. Okay. So now let me launch the attack. Let me launch the attack, and once the attack gets started, you can able to see the fluctuation in the traffic. Yeah, attack started. You can able to see the fluctuation in the traffic. Can you able to see here? Again, alert, your internet connection is unstable. Okay, it happens, no problem. Right? Can you able to see the fluctuation in the traffic? So sometimes it is showing it's down. See, it is reaching up to 3.6 Mbps. Previously, the data traffic was less than 512 kbps, but now 3.6 Mbps. Assume you have an internet speed of 100 Mbps. Likewise, you have 1000 missions or 2000 missions, 3000 missions, 4000. What happens? What happens if you target with those missions? What happens? You can't do anything, right? So, but you can restrict it. You can completely restrict it. That's what the mitigation. Now we will be seeing the mitigation. Okay. So now I hope you understand how a DDoS attack works. So okay, now what I'll do is I'll open my Mugam. I'll open my Mugam site and I'll show you within the controlled environment. Okay. So now let me go to Mugam.in. See the fluctuation, how it is happening. So it keep on increasing, right? So whenever there is a huge utilization of the bandwidth, my Zoom is getting disconnected. You got it? So attack is going live, but it is on a secured environment. Out of this mission, no longer it is going to exist. But when you, okay, again I am saying, see here, Mugam.in is down. Mugam.in is down. Whereas you use your system, you can able to see Mugam.in live. Just check it out. Just type Mugam.in. I am showing you lively. Mugam.in is coming, right? So out of this mission it will work, but within my mission or within this subnet it won't work. Mugam is down. I am showing you everything in a live. I am not talking theoretically. Whatever the theory which I have explained you, I am showing you in live how possible a DDoS attack can hammer your web server. Sorry, let me stop it. So is my screen visible? Audible? Okay. Screen? Yeah. So now Mugam.in is down. I stopped the attack, and now I have shown you in live how a DDoS attack can hammer any of your web services. It could be a web app, or it could be a API, or it could be anything, right? So now, what could be the possible solution? I didn't do anything in a distributed fashion. I just distributed the traffic. The initial transaction was less than 512 kbps. It went up to 11 Mbps. Did you notice the task manager? That's the reason I just want to show you what would be the impact of the attack. I didn't bounce from anywhere. I just used one-to-one connection. But one-to-one connection, you can break it easily. Right? And again, there are some different attacks where you use reflection, where you use open-ended servers like DNS or NTP. Let me tell you one thing. So, is it possible for you to access an NTP server? Anyone can access an NTP server. Do you know that? I'll show you. I'll just switch between this network to university network. So, it will take until all the packets gets discarded. My mugam.in won't be back. Okay. So now mugam.in is back. It's loading. Right? You have a doubt?
Sir, how did you set up this environment?
Yeah, wait, I'll share you the configuration. If I teach that, I can't cover the other concept. It will go till the end of the day. So I'll share you the things. Okay, how to set up a home lab for your own secured and controlled environment. I'll share you the document. No worries about that. Okay. So once I'll share to Ashwini sir. Ashwini sir will share with you all. Okay, all the PPT also I can share. Okay, not an issue. So now, okay. So I think I am good to go with shutting down my Kali machine. So I am using init level. That is what I told you yesterday, right? Init 0 stands for shutdown. Init 6 stands for restart. Okay. So I did init 0. My machine got shut down. Okay. So now let us go with the countermeasure for these DDoS attack, right? So mugam.in, let me go with the same mugam.in. So now my site is good to go. It's going live. Perfect. So now, what could be the possible solution or countermeasure I can deploy against these kind of attacks? Huh? Huh? Rate limiting. Okay, perfect. You can rate limit it. What is meant by rate limit? Any idea? So rate limiting, you want to tell? Yeah, please.
Limit the number of packets or requests.
Number of requests. You can't limit the number of packets. So if you limit the number of packets, let us assume you are putting 500 packets can be transferred. There may be a lot of losses. If your internet it's not stable, there may be a lot of losses, right? So packet level, it's a bad idea. You can't. So instead, you can go with request level. So let us assume when you are operating in a public internet, 15 requests per second is the maximum cap you can keep. Or you can keep with country specific. Or you can keep ASN specific, autonomous number specific, right? So that defines which area and which ISP you are operating from, right? So now we'll see that how you can apply rate limit, how you can deploy WAF and other things. Okay. So I forgot to tell you one more thing. There are some tools which can help you in identifying web application firewall. That I'll be showing you, and I'll show you how to use the tools to detect web application firewalls also. Okay. So for that, I'm just going to use a particular tool called or particular service called Cloudflare, and I'll be teaching you how the CDNs restrict DDoS attack. So restrict DDoS attack, and I also deploy a few WAF and WAF related tools, and I'll show you how it works actually by deploying a real-time captcha and country specific access, country specific restriction, so all those things. Okay. So now these are all the domains which I am governing. So let me go with mugam.in. Okay. So can you able to see the peak data here? I accessed it from my VM just now. So that's the reason it's showing December 5. Okay, so perfect. And again, these are all the records, A record, right? If you look at the A record, so we have a different set of application running in different servers. These are all different things. Okay, we have different set of things, so that's the reason it's showing. Okay, perfect. So now let me go to the actual overview. So once you land into Cloudflare, after adding your site, your exact Cloudflare actual domain landing page looks like this, right? It gives you a complete. What happened? Shall I? Is my screen visible? Okay, so now the second tab will give you analytics and logs, DNS information. So if you want to add any IPv4 or IPv6, here you can go with, click on DNS records, and here you can add a record. So in adding a record, you can add any of these things, a record or AA, or you can go with root certificate, CNAME, HTTPS, mail exchange server, name server, pointer. So all these things you can add here, right? Once you are done, then you can govern your security over here with certificates, right? So SSL certificate I have given here with full, right? So from my browser to Cloudflare, from Cloudflare to origin server, everything goes in a restricted and secured fashion, right? Or else you can go with flexible, or you can off it also. If you off it, by default, what happened? If you off it, by default it goes unsecured, right? And again, if you look at here, these are all some of the information related to your traffic which got served over TLS, and again you can go for Edge certificate. So if you want to configure your Edge certificate, you can configure here, right? So and again here there are some restrictions, right? So you can enable this particular option called always use HTTPS. So there are some environment where your client or where you operate on an edge platform, it completely operates, completely operates in unsecured or untrusted network. So here you can enforce your mugam.in to operate only in HTTPS. Even if it is HTTP, it can have a capacity to switch or to operate in HTTPS. So you can select your TLS version. So minimum version what I have selected was 1.0. If you feel the minimum version of your TLS should be from 1.0 to 1.3, it's up to you, you can use it, right? So you can enable any of your encryption standard. So latest version also got enabled, but from the minimum 1.0 it can operate, right? So all these options I have enabled, and let me come to the security part. So once you come to the security part, so it has a different set of options. There is WAF, there is a page shield, there are bots against botnet, DDoS protection as well. So if you click on DDoS protection, you can go with overriding your DDoS protection deployment. That is one way, right? So and bots protection also there. By default, I just enabled this bot fight mode. And page shield. So page shield again it requires you to upgrade. So whatever the version which I am using and which I am demonstrating is a free version. Okay, page shield is not for free version, but with the free version you can do lot of maximum security countermeasure you can incorporate, because it gives, if you take WAF, web application firewall, it gives you 5 rules can be deployed for your single domain. That's really cool, right? So let me boot my Kali because I want to show you one more demo. I forgot and I shut it down. So let it get booted. Okay, now there is no rules applicable here, right? You can able to see here there is no rules applicable here. So now let me refresh my Mugam. So my Mugam app is coming without any restriction. Are you following me? So now I am going to deploy a rule. Assume I have a customer, listen the use case carefully. Listen the use case carefully. I have a customer which is only from India. I don't have any other customer out of India. Got it? So none of my customer is going to travel abroad. This is the condition. Is it possible for you to rate limit? Yes. How? 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 how many IP address you will trace. See, again, you have to know about the backbone hierarchy. When it comes for internet, each country has its own code. Each region has its own code, right? So I'll show you how you can apply the restriction with different set of categories, right? So now I'll just put up a rule name called ACM Mugam R1, rule 1. Okay, this is what I'm going to put. And now, okay, so in the field, I can take autonomous system number, AS number, right? And I can take a cookie or I can take a country. Okay, so I'll take a country equals to so what I want only Indian traffic to reach me. Okay, yes or no? Okay, I'll go in a reverse order. Whatever the request which comes from India, block. Hey, both are same, right? If I can restrict only the request from India, the same thing I can request for other countries also. You got the point what I am saying? Because if I want to show you how it accepts only the Indian request, it's impossible for me. Again, I have to ask you to install VPN. Reroute. Again, if I ask access to VPN, where is that Anna? Yeah, Anna will feel bad. Again, he has to call the CTS team, and the CTS team will again convey and say, we have a lot of restriction to use VPN. VPN, you can't run because the setup was like that. Got it? So, instead, I go in a reverse order. Whatever the request coming from India, block. You got the working action what I am going to do? Is that clear? Okay, now let me refresh again and I will show you. Mugam app is working very fine. The site is reachable. If you want, you can just refresh your screen. Okay, it's reachable. Now what I am going to do is, I am just going to type India, and now I have a regular expression which got generated automatically. You don't need to worry about that. Or else if you want to edit, you can edit it. It's up to you. So now I have to choose an action. So now what I am going to do? I am just going to block. Now I will go for deploy. I'll go for deploy. So now the rule gets enabled. Okay. So now I'll open my incognito mugam.in. Let us see how it works. Oh, it's working. Okay, it will take some time for reflection. Can you try on other network? Not this network. Try it on other network. Mobile data is not there. Actually, it has to work. It's not. Okay, wait. I'll delete it and I'll go with the other domain. Okay. So I'll check out with the other my incubation domain. Okay. So this is my incubation domain address, vtbif.org. So let me check whether it is working or not. Yeah, it's working. So now what I'll do is, I'll deploy a WAF rule here, the same rule. So whenever someone is accessing it, I'll put up a challenge here, ACM rule 1, so which is specific to a country equals to India. So put up an interactive challenge, deploy. Okay, so challenge solve rate is fine. Okay, let me refresh it. vtbif.org. So I was wondering why it is not getting reflected quickly. So can you try in the other network other than VIT Vellore network? Can you try if you have any mobile network? Just give a try. Because I can't switch to this other network. Again, it gets restricted. It's not working. There should be a captcha. It's there? It's coming? Okay, that is what I want to. I don't know why. Yeah, it came, it got reflected. Yeah. So previously, it does not ask you this. You got the point. Previously, it won't ask you this interactive challenge. So now, it is asking, right? So now if you deploy this for each and every request until it gets resolved, you can't able to access the actual server, right? So indirect restrictions, right? So CDNs have its capacity to automatically understand the traffic and it can also distribute also. Because let us assume if you are not behind CDNs, how it works? Let us assume I'll go to the PowerPoint and I'll explain you how CDNs are playing a major role here. Okay. So let us assume you have a hosting server in America. So let us take you take it from GoDaddy, right? You are from Vellore, right? So now what happens? You purchase a domain called vtbif.org and whatever the content, and again this is also having your hosting server space, right? So whatever the vtbif site content, right? So all the things will be hosted here. And whenever, if it is without CDN, how it happens? So whenever you want to access Vellore, from Vellore to this particular site, vtbif, what happens? It has to check for the shortest path from Vellore, Tamil Nadu to America, and it can have different set of hops to reach, right? So now what happens when you are using it in CDN, right? So now if you are hosting the same thing in some server and you are protecting your domain with CDN, let us assume with Cloudflare. So let us assume Cloudflare have different set of server across different geographical location. Let us take in America 2 server, India in Mumbai 1 server, Sri Lanka 1 server, Madurai 1 server, and Singapore 1 server likewise. Now what happens? All the contents gets distributed across your CDN servers. So now from Vellore, if you are accessing that particular content of vtbif, it won't directly go to America. So instead it will check for the nearest server. Which server is near? Madurai server is near. From here it gets served. So suppose if some of the attacker are using different geographical location to attack your vtbif site, let us assume. So if someone is attacking from America, it won't come to Indian server or other things. If the same attacker is having a botnet operating from 6 countries, what are the if you are not using CDN, directly it will be pointing to your American server. But when you are protecting your site with CDN, it automatically gets distributed across different geographical location. You got the point what I am trying to convey? Is that clear? Right? This is how a CDN helps you in protecting. And other than this, you can go with interactive things. But I don't know why block is not working. I'm not sure. Let me try for the last time in the same vtbif site. Okay. So now ACM R1, I am giving an interactive challenge, right? So now if I go for deployment, now you can able to see how many, still it's not getting updated. I don't know why. Okay, fine. So now what I'll do is I'll just go for a blocking, country specific. So India, I'll try to block. Can you try it again, one more time? So whether it is working or not, can you acknowledge me? So now if I, got it? It got reflected. I don't know why it didn't reflected quickly in Mugam, but vtbif, you got it. So how it works? Let us assume for the previous use case, I have a customer only from India. My customers are not going out of the country. So I can restrict only the traffic within India. That is also possible. Right? This is the example. Right? So let me remove the restriction because it's our incubation center site. Then there is my boss, Amit Chavan sir, a very nice human. He'll feel, he should not feel bad. That's what I was. Hey, just check whether it got released or not. Huh? It's coming? It's coming, right? Okay, perfect. I deleted. Okay, so this is how it works. right? So I have shown you a live interactive things, right? So there are some implicit code level, right? The concept is called as RASP, runtime application self-protection. Runtime application self-protection. So there is a particular tool called Turnstile. I'll show you. They recently updated it. So this is a free captcha replacement system. That is what they are claiming. So let me log in and I'll show you how these things works, where you can embed these things in your code base itself. You don't need to have a captcha, because now people don't want to click on all those things, give the interactive things, where that can also be automated, right? So I think it's under area 1. No, it's not under area 1. Worker pages. No, still it's not. Turnstile, yeah. Sorry. Above zero trust, there is a provision for turnstile. Yeah, this is the one. Right? So how it works, I'll just show you. So this is how a turnstile works. Perfectly, right? So automatically it detects whether I am a human or a bot, right? So the security systems are completely getting advanced, right? So the only thing is, being a human, we have to do and maintain the configuration and other things properly. That is very, very important. That's what I want to go with one live platform, right? So let me stop it here. And it also has a zero trust, and okay, so I'll show you one more feature from Cloudflare, Scrap Shield. Yes. So this is another feature called a scrape shield, right? So whenever any of the bots is scraping your web, and if you don't want to do, and if you want to apply a full restriction, you can go with this particular feature enabled, and it can completely give you a protection. So you don't need to go for bigger solution, paid solution also. Whatever I'm showing you is completely free, but very effective, highly effective solution. You got the point what I'm saying, right? So once you are behind CDN, maximum you are not into DDoS attack. I can promise you that. Okay, I'll show you. Okay, now the question is, how will you detect a firewall which is protecting your web server? Because being an attacker, if you are in an offensive side, let us assume if you are in a red teaming, right, and you want to do some offensive action to test your potential of your cybersecurity, posture of your web server or web application. If that is the case, how will you know? The first thing is IP address, and again port number. It's okay, because since it's in web server, it's serving to all the customers in via browser. ATN 443 is by default, but IP address. If you are under CDNs, there may be a chance that your IP can also be camouflaged. Your IP can also be camouflaged. In that scenario, how will you find the IP address? Number one. Number two, if you are behind the bar of firewall, or if firewall is in front, before the application which you are going to test, first you have to understand whether there is a firewall or not. If there is a firewall, if you do a DDoS attack, it's of no use. That is what I have shown you, right? It's of no use. It automatically distributes, and again it drops the packet. So how will you find? How will you find whether there is a firewall, deployed in front or not? Hey, I have showed you a firewall, no? How to figure it out, whether there is a firewall or not? That's the question. Cloudflare is one particular company or one particular tool. Likewise, there are different tools for DDoS protection. How will you find it out? That's the question. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll find whether there is firewall or not after our tea break. Okay, let us start. Thank you. So the question is, since you are a Windows user, right, I want you to run a Linux machine parallelly in your computer, right? So Windows subsystem for Linux is one of the features where you can use, but it cannot emulate the actual feature of what your virtual machines like VMware or VirtualBox or vSphere or anything is going to give, right? So my opinion or my suggestion is, let us go with any one type 2 hypervisor, either VMware, Workstation or VirtualBox. So let us assume if you are going to spin a virtual instance, you'll have ISO of your Linux, take Ubuntu, 22.04 or 24.04 LTS you have, and you launch it, right? So this is a very simple process. If I ask you for 2 virtual machine, you can do it. And if I want to configure few software, what you'll do? After launching a virtual machine, you log in and you do the configuration, right? So assume you are a network administrator. You have 100 computers, or you assume you are a network administrator for one cloud firm. You are managing some 10 to 20 physical server which is capable of launching 100 or 150 virtual instances. So now the question is, I want you to spin a VM, a heterogeneous configuration VM, and VM can also be in different. Something should be a Mint, someone should have a Fedora, some machines should have Ubuntu, some machines should have Cent, likewise. And configuration also differs from, because each and everything goes a different fashion. Within 45 minutes, I am asking you to spin 100 VMs. How will you do that?